Real talk.
Hello and welcome back to the Humans Talking podcast. I'm FRENO, joined by Brylon. What's up, man? How you been?
I've been pretty good. Got a lot of stuff planned for the next upcoming week, so trying to get everything organized. Trying to decide if I want to get a haircut or not. I don't know.
Yeah, man, get your nice little buzz going.
Yeah, we'll see. I feel like I should grow it out, but it's looking pretty rough right now. So
You ever thought
I
about
don't
getting a mohawk?
no, I don't think I could have that in a typical business setting. I gotta start interviewing for some stuff. So, but yeah, how have you been?
All right. I was sick all last week, so for our many fans out there, you'll notice we didn't have an episode last week, and that was why. I was sick as a dog. Sinuses were killing me. But yeah, feeling better now, finally.
Yeah, I'm glad you're feeling better. That's good to hear.
I miss the good old days where I could, recover from a sickness in about 2 or 3 days. And I guess because of our age now, it takes like a week. It takes twice as long.
Yep. Oh, I know.
Getting old sucks.
Yeah, I did dry January and I was sick for almost the entirety of it, about 3 weeks of it.
Dry January, is that
fucking sucks?
is that a thing people do now?
Yeah, when you just don't drink for the first month of the year.
These. Well,
I mean, any excuse not to drink is probably a good one because
Yeah.
usually it's the opposite.
yeah, I'm sure it's fine. But in that whole week or two we've been gone, what's been going on in the world? I'm trying to catch up on stuff that we may have missed out on.
Well, the Creed 3 came out. I've been watching that. I haven't watched Creed 3. I'm going through the Rocky series for the first time. That's definitely been interesting.
Yeah, me and the missus are gonna start the Rocky series pretty soon because we want to get up to Creed.
The first two, I gotta say, really good.
First two Creeds or the first two Rockies?
First two Rockies. I
Yeah.
was very surprised how little boxing is in them.
Yeah. You'd be surprised at how much not fighting's in it.
Yeah, it's pretty good though.
A lot of story building, a lot of preparation, a lot of training.
It's honestly more of an indie like drama than it is a sports movie, and I'm sure later on that's what it kind of becomes something like that. But the first two, it's like soap opera style. Second one more soap opera style. The first one is just like a character study. It's like
Yeah.
Taxi Driver.
Yeah. I mean, and they're classic movies, so the fact that you can watch them many, many years later, decades later, and be like, man, these are still good. They still hold up.
Very, very good. I was very surprised.
Yeah. And it's cool because, like I said, we're gonna start doing that too. We're gonna go through that series so we can catch up and watch Creed. But on the other side of that, the missus and she has been forcing me to watch the Fast and Furious franchise.
Forcing. Okay.
Yeah, that's been it's been interesting, I'll say the least, because I mean, obviously I've never seen the Fast movies, and here we are many years later. They've been out for so long, it's kind of pointless to consider anything a spoiler. But at the very least, we've been watching it. I think we're like 6 movies in now.
Oh man, that middle part's such a drag.
So here's the thing, and this is not going to be news to anybody who's seen the Fast movies. I'm sure they've seen it many times. First time watcher. So here's my perspective. Here's my take on it. She decided to make us watch a specific watching order. I guess because it makes more sense in terms of, I guess, the story.
Oh no.
So, I mean, it's not a big change. It's just Tokyo Drift. So we watched the first movie, Vin Diesel family, Aaron Paul lets him, or whatever his name, he lets him get away at the end. And then the second movie where he has Tyrese Gibson and they're in Miami, Florida, and it's like a Rush Hour buddy cop type movie. So I was like, okay, sure, whatever. And then the third movie is Tokyo Drift. However, in terms of the story, we don't watch Tokyo Drift. She says, hey, we're not going to watch Tokyo Drift till later because it'll make sense later.
No.
So instead of watching Tokyo Drift, we just moved on to Fast and Furious 4 and then 5 and then 6 and then we watched Tokyo Drift. And the only reason that we needed to do that, obviously, now that I've watched it, is because Han dies. That was the only reason to save that movie till later.
It makes his return so much more epic if you watch the first one when it's supposed to be watched.
Well,
because now you're like, okay, there's Han, he's dead. Oh, he's back in the next movie.
Well, again, that's still, it would have been jarring either way, because it's like, why is this guy alive, and why does he keep referencing he's going to go to Tokyo eventually? Oh, because in that third movie he eventually went and died. But whatever. So we watched it in the other order, where we get to see Han come in 4, 5, and 6. You know, and then of course, you know, his love interest Gal Gadot, she dies. And then we go to Tokyo Drift, where he's like, yep, I'm just hanging out in Tokyo and I'm not even the main character. Some Alabama boy is the main character. And he's kind of dumb in high school. And I'm like, this is it was a very strange movie. Tokyo Drift is like its own separate beast. I didn't really care for Tokyo Drift.
You would have enjoyed it more if you had watched it after 1 and 2.
I know.
Because the third ones obviously have a massive jump in quality.
Well, I disagree, because Tokyo Drift as a standalone movie, which is kind of what it is. I mean, yeah, Han's in it, and then Vin Diesel makes that dumbass appearance at the end for no reason. That also doesn't make sense. Because if the way we're watching it, we just watched 6. Gal Gadot dies, and Han's like, all right, I'm leaving. But apparently 7 picks up right after 6. So in terms of the story, it's like, okay, so Han left to Tokyo, and then apparently Vin Diesel went to go visit him, and then immediately came back and started Fast and Furious 7, which picks up right after 6. The whole thing doesn't make sense. So it's like it's standalone movie. It's kind of weird. I kind of wish they just would have called the movie Tokyo Drift and not Fast and Furious, because as a standalone movie, it's fine. But in terms of like connecting it with the other Fast movies, it just doesn't work. It doesn't fit. It's out of place. It's just a standalone movie.
So here's my question. Did you watch Better Luck Tomorrow?
What is that?
So the director, I forget his name off the top of my head, Justin Lin. He directed a movie called Better Luck Tomorrow about 4 Asian guys. It's like in the 90s or early 2000s. It's like an indie movie about 4 Asian guys that are like straight A students that are like doing shit on the side, you know, to make extra money. I think it's gambling. I don't quite remember. Just hustling, essentially.
Okay.
Han is in that movie as Han. And then when he got the chance to do Fast and Furious 3, he was like, or Tokyo Drift, he was like, well, this is my character. I'm putting my character from this movie, which is essentially a prequel to Fast and Furious about what Han did when he was in college or high school. And then they put him in Tokyo Drift.
Okay. Again, like I said before, that still would have been perfect as a standalone movie. So if you had that movie before Tokyo Drift and just had nothing to do with Fast and Furious, they're probably really great movies by themselves, or a self-contained story with those 2 movies. Putting them in like this whole 9-movie deal of Fast and Furious, it literally doesn't fit at all. Yeah, it doesn't fit at all. Like I said, it's a good movie by itself, but the fact that Han and Vin Diesel are cameos in it, because Han isn't even the main character. He's like a side character. That's
the thing. Han was never supposed to be a main character, because the Better Luck Tomorrow wasn't a Fast and Furious movie. It was made way in 2000. And he's just like, well, I'm a director. I'm going to put, you know how directors will do like character cameos just for funsies for people that they've been in. So they put him in there, and then he was such a popular character that years later they're like, fuck, we got to figure out how to put him back in. And Justin Lin did such a good job that they brought him back for 4 and 5 and 6 or whatever. And
they made him a main character. Which
so he was like, well, fuck it, I'm going to put him in the movie again.
Yeah. So again, these 2 movies are standalone. He's not a main character. He's a side character. It's fine. It makes sense. But in the whole Fast and Furious franchise, in 4, 5, and 6, they made him like a main character, which again, it throws everything off, because in those other movies, Tokyo Drift, he was a side character. It was just very weird.
Think of them as origin movies.
I wouldn't even call it origin. I would just literally not put it anywhere near Fast and Furious. If I was gonna if I had to do this again, if I met someone who never saw the Fast movies, I would say skip Tokyo Drift altogether. If you're just going to watch all 9 movies in order, just skip Tokyo Drift because it literally just throws everything off.
I really think you should have watched them in 1, 2, 3 order because it doesn't make it's Fast and Furious. It doesn't really ever make a lot of sense, but having it where it is kind of muddies the timeline as far as like that story. It makes more sense because you've watched all these movies where where all these characters are like the central focus, and then you watch a third one where it doesn't make any sense, and then but where if you watch the first one, you'd be like, okay, this is Paul Walker and Vin Diesel. Then you watch the second one, you're like, okay, this is Tyrese and Paul Walker.
Mm-hmm.
Then you watch the third one, and it's like, okay, these are different characters, but there's some ties back. And then you watch the fourth, and then it starts to come together. So you have like these. It's almost like a Marvel show where you watch the Captain America, then you watch the Thor, then you watch the Iron Man, and then the fourth and fifth, sixth one, it's like, okay, here's your Avengers movies and the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
I still disagree, and I'll even take it one step further, and this is probably a controversial take. Tokyo Drift would have been better if Han and Vin Diesel weren't in it at all. If it was just the Alabama dude going to Tokyo and racing and, getting fast cars with, what was it, Lil Bow Wow? Was it Romeo or Lil Bow Wow? Who's the rapper in that one?
Lil Bow Wow.
It was Lil Bow Wow, which was also stupid. Without Han and Vin Diesel, the movie would have played out the exact same. And it would have been better because then you wouldn't even be considering Fast and Furious. You're like, hey, this is a self-contained story about drifting in Tokyo.
See, that's the thing.
That is my opinion, because if you just watch the movies 4, 5, and 6 with Han, you get to see Han as a main character. He has a love interest with Gal Gadot. She dies, and he's like, all right, I'm going to go to Tokyo, and then he leaves. You're like, hey, so when you watch the 7th movie, where's Han? Oh, he went to Tokyo. Done. You wouldn't even know that he died. It just, in my opinion, it still works out great.
Yeah, I think your opinion, your view is a little skewed because in the third movie, if you watch it in the original order, you don't know who Han is. You don't know why he needs to be a main character.
Right.
He's just a guy in the movie.
Yeah.
That's just cool.
Yeah.
And he works in the movie because it essentially is a standalone movie where you see him in there.
Yeah, and then Vin Diesel shows up and he's like, hey, I was a friend of Han's. And he's like, who? Who's a friend of Han's? And then Vin Diesel shows up and you're like, oh, he's back. Because he wasn't in the second movie. So you're like, oh shit, Vin Diesel's back. And then it segues to the fourth movie where Vin Diesel is back. Yeah, that I see how that works.
Yeah, but also Han makes more sense if you don't know who he is already, because he's just in that movie, like you said, he's not even a main character. He's just a cool guy in the movie, and that's why it works, because you're introduced to him in like small pieces, and then he gets folded in later, and you're like, oh shit, they do know him. It's kind of like you get like I don't know, you get Nick Fury showing up in an Iron Man movie briefly, and he's doing something cool, and then you see him again in another movie, and then another, and you're like, oh shit, now he's in Endgame, now he's actually doing something in Avengers. Now I can see like the full picture. Now like he's like a focus. Whereas if you watch all the movies and you're like, wow, Han is a really cool character or whatever, and then all of a sudden there's a random movie where they treat it like you don't know who he is because when that movie came out, you didn't know who he was.
Yeah,
that can be definitely. It would be like if they made another Avengers movie and then they just put Iron Man as like a random character that didn't do anything. It was just kind of like, oh, here's support shit. Like, let me give you here's a piece of technology, and then he goes away. And you're like, why the fuck did they do that?
I see your perspective. I see how that kind of flows together. I still have the personal opinion it didn't need to exist. For me personally, I would be just as happy if that movie never happened, because I still got to see Han for 3 movies. I did not need Tokyo at all. I didn't need it at all.
That's probably my favorite one out of anyone past 7, because that was the introduction of Han. And I feel like the fourth one is really slow. It's just boring and bland. And the one where Gal Gadot dies,
I guess that's 6.
6, that one, I did not like that one.
Yeah, she didn't need to die. Like,
yeah, she just fell off.
But they killed her on purpose because Han is about to go to Tokyo, and in Tokyo he's by himself.
Yeah.
So I'm like, again. So again, if 3 never happened, none of this stupid shit. I didn't need Tokyo at all. It was fine as a standalone movie. I didn't really care for the Alabama boy being out of a fish out of water. It was just because it also runs into the issue of the whole white savior theme. I don't know if that bothers you in movies where a white guy will show up and just save everybody in the country. Like, what was it, The Last Samurai?
Yeah.
I don't like when movies do that. I'm like, you mean to tell me native people who have lived here their whole lives were just in such a bad scenario that the only solution was a random white person who doesn't know the culture came to save the day. I don't like when movies do that.
It's actually really funny. There's an because Justin Lin is obviously Asian, and he made a movie that was like super Asian centric in Better Luck Tomorrow from the Asian perspective of like getting into petty crime and shit like that. Uh, and when he was making Tokyo Drift, he got that opportunity. He put it in Tokyo, and he was like, "Yeah, I wanted Han to be the main character, because that's the character that is near and dear to me because I created that character.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, the studio wanted, these white leads
A
to
white
be in the movie.
representation because white people need to feel like
So
they can
he's
relate to this movie.
so he's like, I made that movie in Tokyo and put Han in it and made him as cool as I possibly could, so he would be the main, essentially like a backdoor main character over the other guy.
Mm-hmm.
Just because he was just like, I wanted Han to be the main character.
But
Of
then
the
he
movie.
died in the dumbest way possible, like a random car accident. He got T-boned. I'm like, really? That's kind of a weird way to go out. I mean, I guess it
But they
makes
also,
sense. You're all street racing, but still.
yeah, well, I feel like he did that because, he wasn't supposed to be in the movie, and they were like, well, I need to, I take the character, I put him in there for the little bit, and then, I end his story arc from from his other movie. And then he was so popular and all that, and so he's just like, well,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it then.
Yeah, I hate the white savior thing in movies. I mean, I
Yeah.
understand why studios do it because they want to make the audience feel like they're a part of the story. But I'm like, you're in Tokyo, Japan. They're not going to feel related to the story anyway. Like none of this matters. It's so dumb. But I mean, Hollywood does Hollywood things. So I'm like, okay, well, here's a typical white person doesn't know anything and he saves the day from everybody. That's so dumb.
Yeah,
But
so I'm reading in the wiki, and it says he pitched the idea of adding an Asian character to be the cool guy, specifically with Han in mind.
mhm.
And then Kang he was only supposed to be in the one-off, but was brought back because of the positive responses from audiences.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
yeah,
I completely understand why they brought Han back.
he's
That's
dope.
fine. It's just the time. I mean, because at the time that they made Tokyo Drift, they didn't know this was going to be a big Marvel franchise of racing movies.
Yeah.
Because 1, 2, and 3 were kind of like their own separate movies. It wasn't until 4 when they brought Vin Diesel back and started the whole family trend. Because that's what made the first movie so popular.
Yeah.
And then of course, as you know, it ended up blowing into a big Marvel type thing. So I understand when they made Tokyo at the time, they didn't know it was gonna be a huge thing because the Fast and Furious franchise was just random one-off movies, stories about whatever Paul Walker being a cop, but it all circled back into like a big action franchise after that. But
Well, I
yeah,
will say if you want more Han and at least his origin story outside of the Fast and Furious, where it's like a bunch of Asian overachievers that get into petty crime and shit, and like essentially how he became wherever he got to in whatever and in Tokyo Drift. Better Luck Tomorrow would be a good thing to add on there. But
yeah.
what movie did you like? What movie are you guys on now?
We just finished 6, so now we're about to start 7.
Ooh, seven and 8 and 9 are honestly. 9 was, like I keep mentioning, was like my Avengers Endgame.
Well, I mean, the
Or,
budget is so big at this point. It better
yeah,
be like over the
7 was
top.
really good. 7 is where you can start turning your brain off. I mean, you could probably do that way earlier, but
It's just crazy
it
action, yeah.
yeah, then it's become where it comes crazy action. But yeah, man, I don't know. They start to get good, or they start to get good. They kind of settle into whatever they're trying to do.
Yeah. It's yeah, because it started off with 4 like being a heist movie. It's like, all right, we need this guy, we need this guy. I was like, okay, this is like Ocean's 11. It's kind of like they're planning a big heist, and then they just kind of just lean into it from there. It's like, okay,
That's the one with The Rock, right? 4.
well,
Rio de Janeiro.
The Rock comes in at 6, I believe. Wait, no, he comes in at 5. Cause at 5 when he came in, he had that crazy ass like goatee thing that was just like it really stood out from his face. And I was like, why does he have like that dark goatee and he's acting all serious and hard ass? And then in 6, his goatee's gone. He shaved it off, I guess because of the backlash he got from how stupid he looked with that goatee on. So he just cut it off in the next movie. And I was like, oh, he has like a normal face now.
Are you gonna watch Hobbs and Shaw?
I mean, I guess if that's in the line of movies, I don't know.
It's a spin-off because The Rock and Vin Diesel hate each other, so they made a movie with some of
Jason Statham, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if they hate each other, but I think they just like 2 alpha males were getting into it on set.
Yeah. Well, they apparently they'll never work together on a Fast and Furious movie again. So they had to put in a second thing.
Yeah, to make money. I mean, I assume it's just that because they're both alpha males and they probably just got into it over something stupid. That's my assumption.
Yeah.
But I mean, whatever. It's whatever. Yeah, it was weird because it's like, hey, here's Ocean's 11. It's a heist type movie. So I'm like, okay, this is the direction we're going now. I was fine with it. It's different. We went from family to buddy cop movie to random Tokyo to now we're back to an Ocean's 11 heist type movie. Yeah, the only thing I didn't really like is what they did with Ludacris. I was like, how, why? Like, hey, for no reason whatsoever, forget being the guy on the streets who knows stuff and knows everybody and sets up races. You're going to be the tech guy. Your job is tech. For no reason, you just know all this shit about computers. You're just technology guy now. And I'm like, that is so random. I mean, it fits with like the heist gang because obviously everybody has a role, but it's so weird because the previous movies showed like he never had like a textbook or any interest in technology. It's just random. Hey, you're the tech guy. It's like they did with the Ninja Turtles with Donatello. Hey, you're the machine guy. Like, what does that mean? You do machines.
They were like, tech. Well, this is our cast. Make it work.
Yeah. So you have Ludacris coming in. He's just like being the smart guy and typing on computers. I'm like, this is so random and so out of place, but okay, sure. I guess every heist team needs a tech guy. It was just so weird. And I guess that's what he sticks with for the next, I guess, 4 or 5 movies. He's just the smart guy.
Yeah, I think the 4th one I didn't like. That's the one where Giselle on the runway. The 5th one I don't remember. That's the one with Rio de Janeiro is amazing.
Yeah, well, they literally steal the safe. Yeah, that was the 5th one.
Yeah, that one was good. And then
6 was ridiculous because they're fighting the terrorists. They're fighting the terrorist guy who's making bombs, and that's when Letty comes back and she's like, "Oh, I got amnesia because apparently this is like a Japanese anime now." And for no reason, the ending was the runway of them chasing the plane. And I'm like, this is the longest runway on Earth. Y'all have been driving. This plane has been driving on this runway for like 20 minutes with no end in sight.
That's and right. I did not like that one.
And if you notice, the whole backdrop of that scene is just black. And I told Adi, I was like, hey, you notice how everything is black so you can't see trees or anything on the side? Because this shit isn't real. They've been on this runway nonstop for 20 minutes and they haven't hit any debris or vehicles. I'm like, this is the longest runway on Earth. And at the end of the scene, they have like the big X's. It's like, oh, here's the end of the runway. I'm like, oh, y'all magically hit the end now that y'all stopped the bad guy. I'm like, this is the most unrealistic shit. So I get why they made the whole backdrop like black to where you couldn't see anything, because it looks like they're in the middle of nowhere and it's just like an endless runway. It's like a Sonic game.
Yeah.
I was like, this is so stupid. But I mean, whatever. All in the name of action, right? Don't ask questions.
Yeah, that's pretty much the name of the game with those.
I was like, man, I mean, you've been to airports. You see how the runways are. They're tight. They're cramped. There's no way they could have been going for 20 minutes with just nothing but with road. I'm like, this is practically a highway at this point.
Yeah.
an endless stretch of road just for the action scene. But whatever.
Yeah,
So
I'm excited to see. I think I really didn't like that one. My mind kind of ends up shoving together because it was
yeah,
mush during the middle there.
Gal
But
Gadot died for no reason. She let go of Han's hand so she could shoot that guy. I'm like, you didn't need to let go to do that. But whatever. I understand they had to kill you off because Han's next adventure is going to be Tokyo, where he dies. So I was like, okay,
and then I
whatever.
think she was also doing Wonder Woman around that time.
Yeah, whatever. It's whatever. Again, if he just went to Tokyo without Tokyo Drift, I would have been fine. But so 7 is going to be the next movie, whatever that is. I assume it's going to get more intense after this.
I think that one has. That's when they essentially do Nick Fury, but it's what's his face? Kurt Russell, maybe.
Kurt Russell's the Nick Fury.
Yeah, he's the Nick Fury of the universe.
I got to get you guys together for a crazy job. Someone's going to blow up the world.
He's like, we're already together. We're family, you know.
Family. Yeah, I mean, you went from heist to eco terrorists to I guess a world-ending threat's going to be the next one. I mean, where do you go from there? You just keep going.
There's like hackers and all kinds of crazy shit.
Yeah.
But 7 is the one I think where Paul Walker died.
Yeah. So. But then they continue to make more.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think he even has a cameo in like Fast 10 that's going to come out pretty soon. Or a CGI cameo.
I don't know how they're gonna do
right.
All of that. I feel like they kind of have to because he is literally one half of the franchise. But
yeah, I mean, I know Jason Momoa is the villain in this new one.
He looks so gross in that movie.
I really don't understand what's happening. I really don't. It's just more cars and explosions. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Paul Walker's dead, and apparently he's got a cameo in this one. I think Vin Diesel said they're gonna do 2 parts. They're going to do 10 and they're going to do 1 more after this to like wrap up the whole series.
Yeah. I really think I really liked the last one. Was it 7?
What, 9?
8, 9. I don't know why I liked 9 so much, but I did with John Cena. So good.
Well, I got 3 more to go, so we're almost there, but that's just my take. Tokyo Drift was a fine movie by itself. I did not like it as a whole with the 10 movies. I like it as a separate. I would rather watch that one movie you said that introduces Han. Better Luck Tomorrow, and I would follow that up with Tokyo Drift, but I would keep it separate from Fast and Furious. I would probably enjoy it more. But tying whole with the Paul Walker and Vin Diesel, I'm like, it's a mess. It just doesn't fit. But that's my opinion.
Okay.
So that's the whole update on Fast and Furious, and like I said, we'll probably be starting the Rocky series soon afterwards. Yeah, so we can watch Creed.
I'm excited for the Rocky series. I don't know if I'm gonna watch all of them or watch just up to 5 and get to Creed. I kind of want to watch all of them. I don't know if they're bad or not. If I can watch all of Fast and Furious, surely they're not that bad.
I think Rocky 6 was the one where he was old and he just wanted to just get out of retirement for whatever reason.
Yeah. I've heard that one was good though.
Yeah, I saw Rocky 6. It was okay. He was just old. And he's like, I'm bored. I kind of want to get out of retirement. And they're like, you can't really like fight professionally. So they had to like get like some lower weight guy for him to fight. It was just that sort of the old man just wanting to see if he still had it.
Like
one last time
with Mickey Rourke.
It was like, why? You're bored in retirement. I just want to see if I still got it. It's like, all right, man, whatever.
Yeah. I know there was a lot of shit with the him not being he wasn't like a part of the new one because I guess somewhere along the way he lost the rights to Rocky even though he created it and wrote it and directed it.
Well, I know he's in the first 2. He's in Creed 1. Yeah, where he meets Apollo Creed's son and like helps him get on the path of training, and then he's also in Creed 2 is like still like kind of a mentor. But in Creed 3, he's completely gone, which works because now Creed can like be his standalone character. He's like, I got my training from the guy that used to box with my dad. Now I can finally be my own person and be my own boxer. And I hear it works in Creed 3. It's like finally, because now Anthony B. Jordan really gets to shine. He gets to make his own decisions without, Rocky being there. And by that point, he's been boxing for a while, so he doesn't really need Rocky anymore. He's established at this point.
Yeah, It is kind of a bummer that they couldn't even like put him in for like a a mentor moment or something like that. Because I'm sure there's going to be points in the movie where he's like,
Mentioned. I mean, because he was a mentor of the first two films. It's like, all right, like you got it. He got his shine in the first two movies. Let Apollo do his own, or let Creed do his own thing now.
yeah. Well, I mean, yes, I guess so, but it is also still technically the
Universe, yeah.
Rocky universe, and it's weird if he's like the mentor for Apollo Creed's son, and then he goes through something shitty, and he's like, I'm not even gonna call you and be like, hey man, you've been through some shit. Got any wise words? They even brought Val Kilmer back to say some shit to Tom Cruise.
Damn.
They could have done that with Rocky, but he was just like, I'm not gonna watch that. I'm not a part of that.
I
Like
mean,
that whole relationship got pretty sour, supposedly.
yeah, I don't know the details. I don't care too much because like he was in the first two. Like, calm down. Like, this is just one movie. God damn. I mean, this very well could be his last movie. This could be like a trilogy for Creed. Anthony Jordan, this might be his last time playing Creed for all we know.
But it could also be the last time. Sylvester Stallone's pretty old.
Yeah. I mean, he's at this point, he's been in 8 Rocky movies.
Yeah,
6 Rocky movies plus 2 Creed movies. He had his time.
Yeah.
He made his money.
Yeah, I actually think because of the first two, I might go and watch the Rambo movies. I've seen one of them before, which was like really god awful. It was just him like murdering a bunch of Vietnamese people or something.
Are you talking about the newest Rambo?
No.
Or are you talking about
It was
First
like
Blood?
no, it was like 10 years ago. I watched a Rocky movie or Rambo movie. I think it was just self-titled Rambo, and it was like an hour and a half of him with a minigun murdering a bunch of like Vietnamese people that kidnapped some white people.
Yeah,
And I was like, this fucking sucks.
I
But
know I know the latest Rambo, the most recent one he did. It was just an hour and a half of just gore. He was just murdering. I guess some people like raided his land or something, home invasion. I don't know. It's just an hour and a half of him just killing people with a bunch of booby traps for an hour and a half. It's like it's not even a contest.
yeah, I know that but I watched the trailer for the first one like a couple nights ago, and it's like he's a Vietnam vet and he goes to like a small town and he gets hassled by the cops, and the whole movie is him out in like the mountains of this small town while he's being chased by police officers that are just trying to fucking frame him for shit.
Yeah.
I was
So
like that. I thought it was in Vietnam or something,
yeah,
but
Rambo is literally just a one man army. That's probably where the term came from. He's literally just one dude taking on a whole army of people. And you're like, this is the most unrealistic shit, but whatever. He's a badass veteran soldier, so he knows his way around guns.
yeah, it's just weird to me that the first one is like in America.
Yeah.
You're like, okay.
They're all pretty ridiculous, but yeah, if you just like senseless guns and people dying, that's literally what Rambo's for. One man army. Ah, jeez. But that's probably like the update in terms of movies.
I'm
lot of
gonna go
there's-
see. Oh, go on.
there's a lot of cool stuff in gaming going on right now.
Oh yeah, like
A
what?
lot of good games have come out in just like the past month. I mean, you and I are playing a few of them.
Oh, like what? Wolong, Octopath.
Yeah, we got Octopath Traveler 2 came out, and that's been really good. We got Wild Hearts, which is really good. It's just like Monster Hunter. That's really fun. We have Hogwarts Legacy that came out in the past month. Everyone's loving that. We got Atomic Heart that just came out that's getting really good reviews. And, now we're playing Wolong. It's just so much stuff is like out right now.
Yeah, I have no time to play any of it.
It's a good time to be a gamer right now because usually good stuff doesn't come out till like November, but for some reason it just coincidentally just a bunch of good stuff came out in the past month.
Yeah.
So we're gonna be sitting tight for a while.
Yeah, I don't know what I'll get to play. I've been playing Wolong, of course, and that's been pretty fun. I'm gonna be gone for all of next week, so I'm sure by the time I get back, everyone's gonna be done with it.
We're not gonna be done. I mean, we'll be further along. We'll definitely catch you up whenever you come back from making that money, being a rock star out there.
Yeah. Uh, but I don't know. I also need to get on Destiny Lightfall. I heard that was
Oh
really
yeah,
fun,
that
but the
that
story
that's out
was
right
pretty,
now.
yeah, pretty rocky. It's the end of the Destiny series finally.
Oh, is this the for real ending? Is that the gimmick this time?
No,
It's ending.
there's two more. There's this one, and then there's the one after. So it's Lightfall and
Night
Final Shape.
Rise.
The final shape. So this is like this takes you to like a new area with a bunch of fucking cyberpunk shit. That's really about it.
Typical Destiny. But the point is they're wrapping it up in the next two, I guess, expansions.
Yeah, I that's what they've said. Who
Yeah,
knows?
who knows? I mean, because they I mean, it seems fair because Destiny 2 has been going on for quite some time, so it would make sense for them to wrap it up. I mean, if they want to keep making money, they should probably work on a Destiny 3 at this point. I don't know. I'm not
I
into
don't think they
Destiny.
want to. Yeah, I know that they've technically when they were originally coming up with the idea, it was supposed to be 3 years worth of games, and it's supposed to be 10 years total of the Destiny franchise, and they're coming up on year 9.
Okay.
So they're like, all right, we're doing our 10 years. We've only done 2 games. That's fine.
With a
But
bunch
obviously, they're
of
supporting.
expansions and DLCs.
Yeah, that pretty much could be their 3 games or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, and then I think they're gonna hopefully switch it up or do something new. I really love Destiny's gameplay, but the storyline is so weak.
Yeah, the
I
gameplay
would
is
love to.
okay. I'll say the gameplay isn't bad. I just got bored of it.
I mean, some of the campaigns are way better than others. Like the last one, Witch Queen, was really good, really fun. Lots of puzzles, challenging shit to do,
The
and then
raids.
yeah, the raids. But yeah, it's just a lot of hit and miss, and a lot of grinding and stuff. The games as a service can really take its toll, though the seasons can be fun depending. But I don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing something new, new
Like,
enemies, new world, literally anything. Or new game. I'm fine with that.
yeah, I wouldn't mind a new IP.
Yeah. It's hard because Destiny could literally be anything that they wanted it to be, but they seem to be stuck on like the same stuff over and over and over again. But we'll see. See how it goes.
Yeah. Well,
But yeah, there's a lot of good stuff out.
yeah, and just in terms of gaming news, here's a couple updates that is going on. Um, because I'm pretty sure we already talked about the YouTube CEO Susan Wojcicki stepping down and a new guy stepping in. That's yet to be seen how that's going to play out. Uh, did you ever play the Blood Bowl series?
No. I do enjoy a little bit of Warhammer, but no.
Blood. So the third one, Blood Bowl 3, just came out, and it's been about 7, 8 years from Blood Bowl 2, and it is just getting bombed on the internet. Everyone hates it. Because apparently Blood Bowl 2 was really fun. And for Blood Bowl 3, again, 7, 8 years later, they just copy and pasted the same game, which is cool, right? But then they made it worse. I don't know how
Really?
you do that.
Honestly,
I
I
guess
feel like
Madden games do that technically.
Warhammer has this sort of problem where their games have a lot of really cool ideas and they could easily be really good, but for some reason they just never quite hit the mark. And like I think this has been the case with the last 3 games of note for me. There's Vermintide 2, which was a great Warhammer game that's like Left 4 Dead,
Yeah.
and then Darktide came out by the same company, which is the exact same style of game, and it's worse, and it's missing a lot of stuff that the second one had. It's like, why did you not? It feels like you could
Yeah.
have just reskinned this, and
What
it would have been great.
the thing I'll say about Dark Tide and Blood Bowl 3 is that graphically they look
But
a lot better, but the gameplay something just got worse. I don't
yeah,
know. It's like they
there's
made
also
they made the graphics look really cool, but it's like they took away features at the same time, and I don't know why they did that. I don't know.
yeah.
Was that to make the graphics maintain their fidelity? I don't understand.
They also did the same thing with I think Warhammer Total War 3
The
to
graphics were
2.
better.
Yeah, 2 was really amazing. The third one, I think, struggled a bit at first. It's starting to finally kind of get picked up to where it should be. But that third one, when it launched, was not in a great spot. But they've slowly been fixing it over time, and it looks great. But yeah, I remember that when that launched, it had that same issue.
It is so bizarre. I don't know. I guess because in theory it makes sense. Like just copy and paste the same game and then just improve upon it. It sounds so simple, but again, the execution, it just doesn't play out. And it's like you already had a working formula, so like how did you take the same formula and like work backwards? I don't understand. Maybe they were trying new things, or maybe they were cutting corners. I don't know.
Yeah. So what was the deal with what is it?
Blood Bowl 3?
Yeah.
Well, it was that. The graphics look amazing, but everything else was worse. The gameplay was worse, and they cut features out. And Blood Bowl 2 was like so successful and super popular. People still play Blood Bowl 2 to this day. And they were just so disappointed when the sequel came out. And it's like, y'all had 8 years to add stuff and make this fun, but instead you just made the graphics look cool and you took stuff out.
Yeah.
And then the color palette was weird. They like, hey, the second one was really colorful, and in the third one you nerfed the color palette. It looks like a lot like darker and more bland. So it's like they took colors away, even though the graphics look better. It was a weird choice that they did. But yeah, I don't understand why they took features out and made the gameplay worse. You already had a working system. And again, there's no excuse because you've had 8 years to work on it. So why is it worse? You literally took stuff away. It literally just reminds me of the Madden series, but they come out every year, so maybe that's their excuse. But I don't know what Blood Bowl's excuse is.
I don't know. Well, hopefully they patch all of these games. Like I said, the Warhammer 2 was like amazing, and then it looks like Warhammer 3 came out in February, and I remember it having pretty mixed reviews, and right now it's trending positive, so it looks dope. So maybe they'll fix it. I think Vermintide also was in a pretty rough state when that came out too. So
yeah. Well, I guess we'll see what. Oh, we also got Sons of the Forest that came out too.
I know. I really want to play that. I just don't have the time.
Yeah, I mean it has some bugs and performance issues, but that's normal for an early access game because performance issues is what you fix last. But the gameplay and the story is still fun. But so I mean they could spend the next 6 months like tweaking the bugs and the glitches and making the game fine. As opposed to the other examples we gave where they literally just took shit away. It's like that's not an excuse. Also, I don't know if you ever kept up with Beyond Good and Evil.
No, I played the first one for like an hour.
Yeah, the first one is a classic. It's got a cult following. People loved it. And people were really stoked for the second one. And as you know, Beyond Good and Evil 2 never came. And it actually has broken the record of longest game being worked on. Because, the record was Duke Nukem Forever. Duke Nukem, that game was like in progress for like 10 years before they finally released it. And it came out like mediocre. Beyond Good and Evil 2 has officially broken the record. This game has been being worked on, quote unquote, for 13 years now. And they're still in the early development of it. They don't even have like a base game formed yet. 13 years, Brian.
What about Final Fantasy 15? Wasn't that like 15 years?
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't that long. Because like I said, Duke Nukem had the record of longest game, and that was 10 years. Gotcha. And Beyond Good and Evil just hit 13 years, and they still have nothing to show for it. So for 13 years, they've literally not been doing much with it.
It honestly seems like something Ubisoft would have canceled already.
Well, yeah, and that's what everybody thought. But they keep telling people it's not canceled. They keep telling people every year they're working on it. And everyone is like, how is that possible? How has it been 13 years and you don't even have like a demo ready? Like it's still in early development. It's not even halfway finished. So they've been putting no resources in it for 13 years, and they've been working on other games that have been bombing, like Watch Dogs and other shit.
Oh, fun.
Yeah,
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 that company, I feel like they just really need to do something else. All of their games are exactly the same. Like literally, Assassin's Creed is the same as Phoenix, as the same as Far Cry. It's like they figured it out with Far Cry 3 and Assassin's Creed 2, and they're like, this is what we're doing.
okay.
Period.
Period.
Just big maps that have the exact same shit on them. It's just you want to play in first person or third person.
Run around and do shit. Yeah, I mean, Watch Dogs is again that those two games are exactly the same. It's like, all right, you run around and you just hack shit with your phone, and it's just like hack a car or hack the stoplight and do whatever.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Watch Dogs. I totally forgot about that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that company almost got bought out not too long ago. I wonder. I've heard that I mean, it hasn't been doing well. I can't remember the last game. I guess Far Cry 5, but I don't really remember anything good coming out recently from them.
Yeah, it's kind of a mess.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I don't think Beyond Good and Evil 2 is ever going to come to light. I don't know why they keep talking about it. I don't know why they keep quote unquote working on it. After 13 years, you're still in early development. That means you either redone the game a bunch of times or you've had literally one or two people working on it for 13 years when you need a whole staff working on it. Because you've had a whole staff working on Assassin's Creed and Watch Dogs and these other IPs, but you have nobody working on Beyond Good and Evil 2. And I don't know why they keep teasing people, because everyone's like, it's not coming. It's been 13 years and you still have nothing. This game is not happening.
Yeah. There's not even like a gameplay demo, really. They did one, but...
Yeah, they did one like years ago. But that obviously has changed since then. You can't have the same demo for 13 years. It's going to keep changing.
Yeah.
So they don't even know what they're doing with the franchise. But apparently they still haven't canceled it. And I guess that's what's important. And it's like, why? This game practically doesn't exist anyway.
It's secretly canceled. They just don't want to say anything. I mean, they literally had like a Kickstarter for it because the game didn't want it. They didn't want the game funded with Ubisoft money, right?
Yeah.
So,
and yeah. I think the most recent update is the producer who created Beyond Good and Evil. I think he left the company. He left Ubisoft and he started his own gaming studio.
Really?
So even the guy who created it has no faith in the project. He's like, this shit isn't happening. So he just left.
Damn, that's not good news.
Yeah, it's just not happening. But they still refuse to say it's canceled. I don't know why. But with that and other gaming news, you play that game Forspoken?
No, I have not. I want to. I love my Squaresoft, Square
Enix. Yeah, it was made under the studio Luminous Productions.
Yeah, that was born out of Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah, Luminous Productions is a branch of Square Enix. But Forspoken came out $70, and the game wasn't good. The graphics looked cool, but the story was bad. The gameplay was mediocre, and the voice. No one liked the game.
Yeah, it seemed like you were fighting a bunch of animals, and it's like, isn't this a fantasy world?
It was just weird. Just the magic. I don't know. The whole game itself just wasn't very good, and it was $70. Mm-hmm. And at the exact same time, you had Hi-Fi Rush, a $30 game, cell shaded, that shadow dropped the same time Forspoken did. Hi-Fi Rush has made more money being charged at $30 than Forspoken has being charged at $70. And they didn't even market that game. It just shadow dropped and it made more money than Forspoken did.
Really?
That's really, really sad. Because Forspoken obviously advertised and had commercials and said, hey, here's this game, come and get ready for it. And then Hi-Fi Rush shadow drops. Didn't tell anybody, and it sold more copies. And it got better reviews. People have more fun with Hi-Fi Rush than this, professionally looking Forspoken game.
Yeah.
and it's been 1 month, 1 month, and Studio Luminous Productions has just shut down.
Yeah, they got
They got reabsorbed. Yeah, they got reabsorbed back into Square Enix.
Well, I think there are a couple things I would say. I would say one that, if we're being really honest here, gamers are very they like what they like, and then that's really about it. And I don't really think I think unfortunately a game with a black female protagonist in a fantasy world was already in an uphill battle because a lot of people don't want to play that type of character. I wanted to. I love that concept, but a lot of people, a lot of gamers, especially here in America, probably not want to play that. Like, it turns a lot of people off automatically.
Mm-hmm.
And then also being a JRPG style game, Japanese game, that probably turns a lot of people off. And then there's always a lot of controversy with games like that when you have, representing African American people or whatever in games like that. Like, remember when Miles Morales came out and somebody made a comment about like the way that he plays, about being, I think IGN was like, oh, you get all of the attitude of like a young black teenager, all the swag or something, and people just fucking railed on that guy. So I just think
guy.
people tend to get really sensitive, kind of like the Harry Potter thing. Just like, I don't know, it was fighting an uphill battle. That's my point. And then also, I can see why they were being reabsorbed, because it's like, look, they created that engine for Final Fantasy 15. So really, yes, that studio was born out of Final Fantasy 15, but that Luminous engine was what built that. So it was the people that built the engine for Final Fantasy 15, and they were like, well, you guys know the engine, let's move you over and make you work on a new game. So really, they had two games. The first one was one that they solely, or the second one was the one that they solely worked on, which was Forspoken. But the first one was Final Fantasy 15, which also was kind of a stain on the, it wasn't great. I liked it, but
Yeah, I liked it. I didn't mind it.
But a lot of people in the consensus was that it was really not doing it for people, and it was really shoddy and messy. And that also had a lot to do with the engine, like playing like the serpent fight where you fight Leviathan just didn't make any sense. You're just like flying around, and like the camera's like flying all over the place. It's just like, so that, I don't know. I feel like Square Enix probably put a lot of that blame, on this. We spent all this money, 15 years to build this new engine, and it failed on the first try. All right, well, let's give you a second game to try it out. Failed. It's just like, all right, well, we're done with this.
Yeah, I respect the fact that they were trying something new. They tried a new type of Final Fantasy game. They tried a new IP with Forspoken.
Yeah, I do.
And I enjoyed the Final Fantasy game, regardless of what people think. But Forspoken, even though they tried something new, unfortunately, the game just wasn't very fun. People didn't really enjoy playing it. Not so much that chick was black or JRPG. It's just, I don't know. It just seemed kind of generic, jumping around, fighting people, using spells. It wasn't really anything special about it that really hooked people. And the gameplay was just kind of like very basic. It wasn't really anything like hard or anything. I don't know. It just didn't really captivate people. Because like with a game with like Miles Morales, they're like, oh my god, it's Black Spider-Man, blah blah, we're mad. But at the end of the day, it's still a fun Spider-Man game, so people still loved it because it's still got the same gameplay. It's just the character's black now.
Yeah,
but I mean, the gameplay was there. It was still fun. But for I understand for Spoken, the spells were not that cool. I mean, they tried the JRPG level up. The voice actors weren't great. The dialogue between her and the wristband, people hated it. They're like, we don't like her or the wristband. They're not really likable characters. It just didn't work.
Trying to do like a Jarvis Iron Man sort of situation. I thought some of the dialogue was funny personally, but yeah,
I guess 30 hours of it would probably get on your nerves.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's just unfortunate. I feel like, they needed to do more. And I wonder if that engine was really built for something like that and not more focused on just visuals than anything else.
Yeah.
Because the visuals in Final Fantasy 15 were beautiful, and I'm
Yeah.
sure they were in for Spoken, which is
Right.
also a generic name. They should not have gone with that name. But it just wasn't. I mean, if the gameplay is not there, then there's nothing you can do about that.
I mean, jumping around and shooting a bunch of spells would probably be fun for about an hour. I don't know if I could do it for 20 hours. I'd probably get bored very after that first hour. I'm like, all right, well, now that you got the first couple spells, you pretty much got the whole game. All the spells are kind of similar. There's not really anything unique or different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a shame. I hope whatever they do next will be great. I'm excited for Final Fantasy 16 though. That game looks amazing.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely
that also
amazing.
comes out this year.
Yeah, Yoshi P. I played Final Fantasy 14 for a couple of years, and God, it's so good. And that entire team, that is probably the best Final Fantasy that no one plays. And it's
Yeah.
unfortunate because it's essentially a single player Final Fantasy that just goes on for a while. Like you could play it single player completely, and people just don't want to do it because they think it's more than it actually is. But I digress. That team, whatever they do, is going to be amazing. Like I have no doubt in my mind.
See, I'm
But
looking
I
forward to that.
I think it's really interesting that they changed it up to like they got the guy who worked on the combat is by the combat director is the guy who did Marvel vs. Capcom 2, Devil May Cry 5, and what was the other one? It was a Bayonetta. I can't remember what the other one was, but he's the combat director for those games. And yeah, it's interesting that they went that route. Like kind of was on the wall with Final Fantasy 13 through 15, but I'm just excited. I want that game to be out.
Well, just a little bit longer. It'll happen.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, that was a good way to crush a nice little hour of a podcast.
Yeah.
Considering we probably won't have one next week since you will be out of town.
Yes, I will be out of town. Yes, but maybe when we get back, or maybe we can do it from. I'll be in LA, so we'll see. We can do it from the beach. I don't know. We'll see.
That'd be a little odd.
Yeah. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe I'll. It just depends, but probably not.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. But with all that being said, you got any parting words you want to leave the people at home?
No. Just keep doing what you're doing.
Keep on
Play Final
trucking.
Fantasy 14.
There's
Now.
a lot of good games out right now. Go ahead
14.
and leave some dialogue in the comments below. Let us know what you're playing right now because we just listed a bunch of tight stuff going on right now. Like, what's your favorite game right now? I'm really enjoying like a bunch of them. Octopath, Wolong, and Wild Hearts is what I'm currently playing. I got 3 games I'm bouncing between 2 right now. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, alrighty then. We'll wrap things up. Be to like, comment, and subscribe, and yeah, we will catch you guys next week. Unless this is the final podcast episode, it could be. Who knows? I don't know. We had a good run.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just leave it at that. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.